Hello again, friends. As you might have seen in some of my previous videos, each year towards the end of September, myself and several friends get together with our military vehicles and radios for some camping at High Point State Park in New Jersey for a couple of days. Then we all get together and convoy down to the MRCA Redball Military Vehicle Show at the fairgrounds in Gilbert, Pennsylvania. Here a bunch of us military radio enthusiasts commandeer a building to display and demonstrate military radios both for ourselves and for the general viewing public. The radios that can be seen at these events can date back to the 1930s all the way up to the modern era. The show is great fun, and it's great to see friends that I only get to see once a year at this event. This year there were a lot of really great displays, some of which you're looking at. For me, one of the highlights of this MRCA event is the field operations on Friday. This is a great time where people bring their man packs and vehicular radios out to locations around Gilbert, Pennsylvania. We do things like experiment with different antennas, different bands and modes, test out propagation, and our latest Hamfest treasures. In this video, I filmed my field ops at the top of Big Pocono, a mountain about 30 miles away from the fairgrounds. I split this video into two parts. This first part is the setup, and the second part, which I'll publish a week later, has some of the operating. In this video, I'll show my front-mounted antenna for VHF and UHF. I'll show a mobile NVIS loop that I recently acquired and installed on the top of the vehicle on the roof rack. And I'll set up an inverted V for HF operating. I bought the loop used and discovered it was completely ruined from water ingress, but that didn't, of course, stop me from installing it. I will eventually replace the loop with one of equal kind. Oh well, live and learn. We are on our way to Big Pocono, the top of the mountain, and in Pennsylvania. We're going to do some field operating there and get the Land Rover set up and get a dipole set up on a mast and have a little fun. We just left the Gilbert Fairgrounds in Gilbert, Pennsylvania, where there's the MRCA, the Military Radio Collectors Association, has an annual get-together with military vehicles and military radios, and so yeah, we're having some operating fun, and stay tuned. So we are in the Land Rover. This is the 1984, I forget, Land Rover Defender. It is a Tithonus, Project Tithonus truck, which means that the UK, the Ministry of Defense in the UK, brought the truck through a life extension program, which is a refurbishment program, and then yeah, so it's an ex-MOD, ex-military defense, and someday I'll make a presentation on the history of this vehicle, because the Brits were very good at keeping detailed logs of all the places that the vehicle spent time and service. Yeah, so this little parking lot, which is just a wee bit before the main parking lot, is absolutely nobody here. And so I'll set up here, have peace and quiet. So the first thing I'm going to do is set some antennas up. We're going to start with the VHF antenna. This covers 30 to 512. Specifically, we're going to use it for 51 megahertz, and on that 6 meter band, we're trying to make contact back to Gilbert, Pennsylvania, where some folks are set up in the main hall there. Here in the back, I keep a box with all my antenna parts. This was actually looks like a World War II box that was used to store projector screens, but it works perfectly for antenna sections. And we're just going to open this up. And what we're interested in today is at the bottom, I keep this dipole bag, the AT-1743. I think this is an Israeli Army unit product. And we'll set this up on the mast and raise the mast. So the bag contains a few parts. We'll go through them briefly. This is the coax. This will go to the center of the dipole and hook on, and then come down to the antenna coupler of the HF Harris radio. And then we have two radiating elements. The nice thing about these is that they're marked off in frequency. See if I can get a close-up of that. And so you can reel them out to whatever frequency you're working. I'm not overly concerned about that. I'll probably do 60 meters or so, and if I want to operate outside that, I'll just let the tuner do its thing, even though it won't be very efficient. I could always reel it back or reel it out, these elements to the right size, but who needs the work? And here is an attempted close-up. As you can see, 30 megahertz, 14 megahertz, and you can reel them out, depending on where you're operating, 6 megahertz. 20, this is upside down here. This 22, now obviously 18 and 22 should not be together, one of them slipped. But you get the idea, very convenient. And let's see what else we have in here. And here, let's see if we can get a close-up of that. This is the center insulator. We hang this on the mast, and then we put the elements, the two elements, here. And there you have the beginnings of it. You can see one element coming down here, the other element here, and then the coax. So we're going to start spreading out the antenna elements just a little bit, just to unreel them so that we can lift up the mast without any problem. Now I'm going to walk it back so we can lift up the mast, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. Okay, let's start lifting the mast up. We got the first section. Let's do the next. It's an aluminum 8-meter mast, and considering it's a few feet off the ground, mounted on the vehicle, it's about 30 feet total about. Now, you don't have to raise these all the way. Whether it's 30 feet or 29 feet or 28 feet, doesn't really make that big of a difference. And of course, it does get a little heavier with each section. There we go. Looks good, and we'll put the lock back on so there's no accidents. All right, let's see how this came out. Yeah, so I decided to get it off the ground. I think it would have been just fine sitting on the ground, but as you can see, it's now levitating. The rest of the wire, that goes up to the center conductor of the dipole, center insulator. And here I've just got a string where I've just tied it up to this fence. And that's it. And on this side of the vehicle, you can see it's kind of hard to see it with the fire tower in the way, but we've got the antenna element coming here. It's also set for 5.5 megahertz, and I've got this tied off to the park bench here. Another good reason to use places where there aren't a lot of people. And the final part of the project is to take the coax down from the mast and attach it to the coax output of the coupler, as opposed to the high voltage output of the coupler, which, although not working, not operable right now, attaches to the AT1011. And so in the radio, I will set it up to use the coax. So what we have to do is, on the radio, we've got to set the coupler, the antenna coupler, to the 50 ohm port. This is as opposed to the high voltage port. And that should be it. Let's hit enter. And then we'll get out of programming mode. Lower the volume a little. And all right, we're gonna key up, and it should tune the dipole. Let's see what we get. All right, tuning complete. Okay, we're on top, and here's, hopefully you can see all this. Not a lot of room for the tripod up here, but I'll show you how how you raise the loop. So we loosen this one. We loosen this one. These are the locks that hold it down in a horizontal way. And get out of the way here in the corner. And we lift it up. Okay, we raise this up. We lock in there, we lock in here. And then we tighten the nut here and tighten the nut there. And that's it. The loop, as you can see it laying down again here, in the center has an antenna tuner. And the antenna tuner, we have two connections. This is coax for power, coax for RF signal, and we've got power, 12 volts power to power the coupler. Well, that just about wraps her up for this episode. Please be sure to tune in next week when we will do some real operating and get to hear how the nets go. See you then.